her place. And with much trepidation, because you're all a pretty scary group of individuals, I agreed to kind of be the ringmaster for your circus of monkeys tonight, which totally just means Aaron, but you guys are all following me on that. So
I was going to say, Tom was doing a pretty good job of being a monkey there for a minute.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, I just want to kind of a personal note before we dive into meat and bones and stuff, guys. Like I've been a part of this event since like 1998 in one capacity or another. And I was the chair when we last had to make hard decisions about some direction of the Independence Days, then Western Days event, and took a lot of heat in the community. But you know what? I didn't have to deal with social media. Our commission then didn't have it. And you guys do. And this has been a tough 2 years. This year has definitely been, I think, a little harder than last year. And I just want personally to tell all of you how much I appreciate the professionalism I see all of you exhibiting on social media. I know there are probably times when you're screaming in the background and pulling on your hair, but what our community is seeing is very calm and collected. And I know it's tough. And I've spoken to a few of you personally, and I know you're feeling a bit embattled and at times personally attacked. So I just want to recognize that. I think you guys are doing awesome. I'm so impressed with all of you and how you're handling this. And I think you guys should all, reach around and give a virtual pat on the back to the person in the camera next to you or something, right? Like, a round of applause for each other and just keep doing what you're doing. That's my little touchy-feely kudos for you guys this evening. Yeah, there you go. I never quite got that right. That assumes a certain amount of civility that, I struggle to exhibit at all times. All right, so I'm going to jump in and kind of go down the list that Janice gave me. And really, Karen, do you take notes? Do I need to take notes?
I am the minute taker, and I would ask that, can we approve the minutes before we get into the weeds here? We haven't approved minutes at all this year.
Absolutely.
I'd like them all to be officially approved.
Absolutely. Has everyone received the minutes from the previous meeting? No. Shannon, did you not get the minutes from the previous meeting?
It was included in the agenda packet that you would have received a notice of.
So in the packet for tonight's meeting.
Okay.
It has January 14th, February 11th, March 11th, April 8th, May 13th, and May 27th minutes.
Would you guys like a couple minutes to breeze through that?
Sure.
Can we have hands? Can we raise hands? Raise your hand when you're satisfied with your reading, and then I will call for a vote.
Don't mind me, Kimber. I don't vote anyway, so don't worry about me.
Yes, ma'am.
Me either, Kim.
I suppose.
And I'm not on the commission. I'm just here kind of representing Ida to be an adjunct here.
All righty.
Sheesh, Karen, if you didn't write so much. Oh.
Well, if you got it, I've been including them in the packet for the last 6 meetings, and we just haven't gotten around to approving them for some reason. So we are going to approve them tonight. By golly.
Not for that. Because the one time you don't will be the one time someone questions something, and you're going to be held accountable for that. So absolutely.
What you got over there, Bob? Oh.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah. I motion to approve your minutes.
Do I have a second?
Nathan's seconding.
Nathan seconding. All right, I can't say Olivia. All right, do I have all in favor? Those in favor? Round of eyes. I see some hands up. Karen, are you catching everyone? All
Thank you.
right. Any nays? All right, we will approve all the minutes as presented without any corrections.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, I'm going to run through the list that Janice gave me, and then towards the end, I'll ask if anyone has any input that we haven't covered. Aaron, do you know if Stacy's going to be on tonight?
She is not. She's.
Okay, that's fine. She can get circled back around with later. All
I
right,
have,
so.
I have a couple questions from her. So.
Okay, awesome. I'll let you run. I don't know that you can stand in for Stacy because, you know, but well, let's try. All right,
Not
wristband
quite.
sales. Wristband sales are first on my list. Just a question if they're selling well where they're at, or do we need to adjust those locations? So do you guys have a kind of a sense of that? Did we
Yeah.
hit the right mark where we're putting them out?
Yeah, Vicky and I ran around today doing pickup and collection. This is the second time I've done it. I have not updated the spreadsheet today, just too busy at work, but I will get that done this weekend and numbers to Janice. Vicky and I had a talk today about exactly that question. Les Schwab is knocking it out of the park. They're just selling them like hotcakes. Couple of businesses on Main Street, just not getting enough traffic. And so we are gonna make a decision by the time we pick up next week, who we're gonna pull back from and where we're gonna consolidate those tickets. I didn't have to restock anybody today except for Les Schwab, so that tells you, and I've restocked them twice already. So that tells you right there where stuff's happening. There are some discrepancies and, you know, I'm not surprised, you know, business owners are busy people. Sometimes it's a one-person shop and they're doing the best they can do. So no judgment there. The only problem I have, and Janice is aware of this, is the brew is not collecting money. They're ringing it up and they're going to give us a tally at the end. So I have no way of reconciling their cash against their ticket sales right now. But really the important thing to us is how many tickets are being sold. So we make sure we're not hitting that 8,000 mark, and we're nowhere near that 8,000 mark yet, obviously.
Okay.
So not a problem at all. But yeah, Vicky and I are asking ourselves that same question and we'll work it out next week.
Right. Question for you, is the sales information on the wristbands going out in bilingual format? I haven't seen any Spanish flyers yet, so I'm just wondering if that's being covered at all.
I thought about that today too, and I don't know. Karen, do you have any information about whether or not information's going out that way?
I don't know, but I will find out. And if it's not, we'll make sure it happens.
Yeah, that's a huge part of our population. We want to make sure they have equal access to wristbands, so our hands don't get slapped for that later. That would be bad for them.
And I'm late to the party, but do we have signs to put in businesses' windows saying they have wristbands?
There's posters all around, but it doesn't identify, it identifies a subset, I think, of the vendors, because we didn't know everybody when we did the poster. Karen does have all the vendors listed on the Independent City website.
I'm wondering if we could just do like an 11 by 17, a really simple wristband sold here, and they can put them in their windows. I mean, I can make those. I think we can get those out.
We could do that. That'll cost a little bit. We can also, I know we all have running list of everyone in town who has reader boards. And if we put a concerted effort out and ask them to post on the reader boards, we have the 1 to 99 as you come into town. We have the fire district. Might get in touch with the company that now owns Central Plaza to see about the old Roth's reader board, places that we can get a post up saying wristbands can be bought, you know, at these locations, or check the City of Independence website for info on purchasing Indie Days wristbands. However, we can do that with time and spacing on those boards, but that's free and they're usually pretty, willing to do that. We have the scroll down at the gate at the high school, those kinds of things. So maybe make use of those free opportunities.
We have a really nice reader board at the library now too.
Yeah. And also we do print in color, and I do have some stiffer paper that would work well for in the windows. And so if Natasha or somebody wanted to create a sign, I'd be glad to print them off if somebody wanted to put them around at the businesses.
Yeah, I can get that done pretty fast and we can print them and I can take them around. That's fine.
Perfect.
I had a question about that. I've seen a couple of posts in the community chats or the City of Independence Facebook pages. How often is that being posted? 'Cause I saw it the first time when they first went for sale, and I don't think I've seen it since.
The city posted it again today, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think I saw it.
Natasha, if you make me a Facebook header appropriate sized ad, I can flip it for the header image for the Monmouth Independence chat page.
Oh, okay.
Should have took a picture of that, and then I can stand in for you.
All right. Any other suggestions on ways to get the word out that we may not be utilizing yet?
I was just looking at the city's Facebook page, and there is no Spanish version that I'm aware that I can see. So it would definitely be a good way to go.
Yeah,
Maybe we
once we
could-
get that Spanish one, then we can have Ramon put it on the
Yeah, I
Soy
was gonna
Committee
say.
Guide page because, if there's no Spanish one, then they're not going to have any idea.
So if I make the posters, who do I get them to get them into Spanish?
I would say Ramon
Here,
himself.
yeah.
Ramon.
Ramon
It's
or
Ramon. Well, just send it to me and I can get it to Ramon, and then that way I'll have a copy for to be able to print out other stuff. Print it out
Okay.
again or something.
Because I may have to I have to put the text onto the poster, like make it so it fits and everything. So I'll just need the text translated. But
Okay.
I'll get it to you, Karen.
Perfect.
All right. Any other thoughts or discussion on the wristbands?
Natasha, I know you said you'd take them around. Since I've been going around and checking in with people, whenever Karen has them ready, if she lets me know, I can put those up because I know where all the locations are. So
Okay, sounds
I'll do
good.
that. So Karen, can you let me know when they're ready and I'll come pick them up? Thanks.
I plan on doing a lot of stuff this weekend, so hopefully on Monday you'll get an onslaught of emails.
Okay. I keep forgetting to turn that video off.
All right. Hey, yeah, Aaron, mute yourself before you talk about us. Any last discussion about the wristbands? All right. If not, I'm going to move us on to the topic of recruiting volunteers. How is that working? How are you guys feeling about that effort?
Okay, they're trickling in. Natasha did some social media this week, soliciting more. Karen has a Google form now to put out on now, so we need a lot more, but I need a little bit of clarity on what the volunteers will do. I think we have covered. I think Stacy's got that covered. I think Janice has trash pickup covered. So I'm thinking family games and wristband sales the day of. Is there anything I'm missing? Because I do need to communicate with the volunteers. I've got signed up now so they know what they'll possibly be doing.
I'm sorry, Shannon, I missed the first thing that you said. You were kind of in and out for me. So what all is covered?
Well, I think garbage is covered. I think Janice has that covered. And I think gates are covered. So the only thing
Awesome.
that I know of are family games and wristband sales the day of. And that possibly could include Sunday morning cleanup too, or Monday morning cleanup, whenever we clean up, do that final cleanup. But I just need some clarity on what the remaining responsibilities are so I can start communicating with folks.
And I haven't seen the Google form, I'm sorry. Can people check what they want to do? Are the options on this form, or are they just?
I didn't put any options on the form. The only options I put on the form were, do you want to work on the 3rd or the 4th or both?
Okay.
That's really the only option. And I've told people as they send me emails, the kinds of things we're looking for, and I'll get them some further information as soon as I have it. But I don't want to keep people on a line too long. I want to make sure they sign up for what they're doing.
Setup and tear down is another volunteer position. Be good to
Does that include a lot of heavy lifting, Aaron?
have. Yes,
Okay, I need to know that because if somebody's got issues, I don't want to obviously sign them up for that. Okay,
Yeah. Physical labor for sure.
gotcha.
Hey Shannon,
Shannon,
if you ever feel like it would help or it starts to become a tracking issue or you want to get more info out there, let me know. We do Cert purchases, a Sign Up Genius platform. We have an account where we can specifically put in every shift that needs to be filled with a little tab about what that is. And people can go online and just sign up for it there, and it sends a report to you. So you don't actually have to talk to them. They've just submitted their shift they want, and their email and phone number comes to you as they've committed, and you can pull it up at any point in time and see how it's looking. So if at some point you want to do that, if the Google Doc at the Microsoft form isn't working for you, let me know. And we can get that created. Then you just include that Sign Up Genius link on all of your PR push, and people just click on it and sign themselves up. It's as easy as
Okay,
that.
sounds good. As soon as I have all the stuff ironed out, what the rules are, we can do that. I think that makes sense. Okay,
Shannon, I forgot to mention today, I sent out a volunteer request through the Air Park network. And it took me a while to track down the Boy Scout leader, but I do have a message into them and hopefully we'll hear back. And I said, I'm clean up and wasn't sure, but hopefully we'll hear back from them soon.
great, thank you.
All right. Any other volunteer related comments, questions, suggestions? Going once, going twice. All right. Again, same with the wristband sales. I would just encourage you to think about bilingual opportunities and PR for that as well, that we're also recruiting for our Hispanic community neighbors to participate if they would like to. All right. Okay. Aaron, go for Stacy.
So Stacy wants to know if the gates, it says on the forms, the gates need to be open from 4 to 11, or the event is 4 to 11. Does she need to keep the gates open until 11, or is it like 9:45? That way her people can watch the fireworks as well, and we can have security just kind of hold the gates, let everybody know they need to be in by 9:45, 9:50, and go from there. That was her question.
What are your guys' thoughts?
I kind of like the idea of giving a break at the end of just saying, okay, hopefully everybody's in, and kind of go from there. Maybe let the security guys have their discretion as to let a few people in if they want. But letting the kids watch fireworks that volunteered is probably a good thing.
I think that if you guys set on a time, if you want to say like there's a cutoff of coming through the gates at 9:50, that should be included in the information that goes out about the wristband sales, that the latest entry or this allows entry until this time. So they're aware they need to get themselves in before we close and cap that.
I agree with that.
But if you have a wristband, why does it matter? I don't
I
understand.
know.
What are they even
Right.
doing? They're making
Walk
sure
through.
people have wristbands on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not
So
like they're selling anything. So why? I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Yeah, there's a point there. You could just say,
At that
you know, day of event sales will stop at this point, but wristband entry, like, don't even mention that, right? Bob's got a good point. They're just gonna arm
Yeah,
up.
I mean, I guess
anyways.
maybe what she's asking for is how long do her people need to be at the gate?
And I say until.
And I'm thinking more because
Sorry, go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
but to keep people who haven't purchased wristbands from entering into the park.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So
Right.
if we
Yeah,
look at,
It's a COVID number thing. It's not really so much the money part, is it?
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's not the money part. It's just the COVID, the attendance number.
What about the bag checks? Is that part of that at the gate as well?
yes, and I think probably Tino will speak to that when we get to his report. He's kind of coordinating that. And past years, I can just speak from past year experience. Typically, we have taken money at the gates until like right at 10, or at least a few minutes after the first volley. The first few volleys go off. There's a rush for people wanting to get in. We stand for about 10 more minutes. at that point. So Aaron, you guys tend to go at about 9:40, 9:45 with
10
your morning
o'clock.
shot, right? And then start at 10.
Yep.
And so, we hold for a few minutes to catch that rush of people coming in, and then we've, just closed the gates and walked off. So I'm not advocating for one or the other. I don't feel like that's my decision to make, but just keeping in mind how we've done it in past years.
So the census is, we'll keep them there until 10 o'clock. And then they can go.
If you have a bunch of people waiting to get in, I don't think they can leave. I think they have to stay there and
that's
keep
true.
the gate controlled. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it may suck to miss the fireworks, but that's what you're there for, is to
Yeah.
control the gate. So,
That's what I'll let her know.
Yeah, other than maybe the the people at the bridge, I'm thinking who's ever at the other two gates are gonna have a really good view of the fireworks, though, just being at the gates.
They're big fireworks. We all have a good view.
That's right.
As long as Aaron does his job right.
Yeah. We'll put that blame on Keith.
Okay, we're good with that. All right. So just to confirm, our message back to Stacy is the goal is to allow as many people as possible through the gates. And if that means that the gatekeepers, gate tenders, you need to work through the first, bit of the fireworks, then so be it. But we want to get as many people through as can, given our current restrictions.
Yep. Perfect.
Y'all good with that?
yeah, except that the message, I feel it's a little off. I'm worried about too many people coming in after they're gone, right? So
Mhm.
people will continue to come in, and we've seen, and this could be a year where we see a bigger rush
Yep.
at the last minute because people don't have wristbands, but they want in, right?
Mhm.
So it's traditionally been a rush, right? When the fireworks start,
Yes,
like every year.
every year.
Like when it gets really busy is when and it's like people are still trying to get in while the fireworks are going off every year. So I think you have to control the gate
Okay.
through.
I like it.
I know is Tino still on with us?
Mhm.
Yes.
Here.
Yep. So, hey, duly noting that, secure the gates. We close the gates.
Our security staff bag checkers can transition from bag checkers to whatever we need them to be. They will be there. Well, I guess I think we are getting ahead of ourselves, and I'm getting ahead of myself. If the security budget has been approved, then we should have sufficient staff that will then transition from bag checker to gate security to traffic control. So they'll be there till midnight.
All right. Perfect. Any other discussion on that topic? All right, I just have a round robin of other stuff. Tino, since you're still front and center in my view of screens, do you want to go ahead and give us your report now?
Well, what I have to report again, if our proposed security budget is approved, then yeah, we should have sufficient staff for the 3 gates, unless that's changed. I'm not sure. I believe it's still only 3 gates, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So then we'll have sufficient security staff for that. As of right now, I've only heard back from one partner agency in regards to our request for assistance. And the answer from them was no, we don't have people available. So still waiting to hear more. Not surprised with, the fact that we've got less than 1 month to go now. So, and I guess, let's see, it was Vicky who had a question about bag checking, but I didn't understand what the specific question was.
Oh, it was in reference to letting the people go watch the fireworks. And I was just saying that one additional duty there was the bag checking. That was all. It was just not really a question.
I see. No, as of right now, we have 2 people assigned, 2 private security officers assigned to each gate. And again, if needed, one can transition to whatever we need them to be there.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if I was supposed to touch on anything else specifically. I'm just waiting to hear back on our security budget and make sure that we can confirm that contract with our CMS, the crowd management company.
All right, thank you, Tino. I will follow on just with a brief report for CERT. Since the last meeting, it was clarified that our priorities for staffing the members who are able to respond to this request is for a gate supervisor, which is kind of an overall eyes on those who are taking wristbands and or money, and to be a point of question if any of our hired security needs someone right on the spot. Although they're going to have radio contact back to the command post. So hopefully that will be minimal, but just our folks who have done this for year to year that are there and can kind of monitor the flow and know when to alert if something's off. That's our number one priority. Second priority is manning a first aid station down at where the Cert booth area will be. I've talked to Aaron. I think we're going to be able to incorporate a cooling station in with that, since we will not have the air conditioned blob to use in an urgent situation. Sorry, I have no idea what else to call that. So that's what we're calling it. And then third priority being some additional roving safety eyes, roving teams around the park. We are about a quarter to a third of the way there, which is not entirely unusual for us at this time, but we usually are pulling for 4 or 5 other counties. So we don't have any other county support. I did just today finally reach out to Yamhill, who's been our biggest partner in past years, to see if there's a chance they would want to offer it up to their members. So I will keep you posted, Tino, on that if I get any play with that one. But right now, I think that we will be able to man at least 1 or 2 people per gate and keep that first aid Cert booth going. That may be all that we're able to do at this time. So that's my prediction on that one. Chief Mason or Tino, have you had any feedback from Polk County Fire at all? No. Okay. All right. We probably should make sure we're circling up with Neil and what they are not able to provide for park support as well. Okay, Aaron, I've got you on my list for Public Works, and then Nathan, Entertainment.
Public Works so far, kind of banking on whether we're going to close in roads or not. So we're still up in the air there. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Public Works. Just need to know what we're going to need to do.
All right.
Any decision on C Street, Aaron, or is that still up in the air too?
Actually, yeah, that's still in the air too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had a question from Ida folks this morning at our meeting about C Street, so.
C Street. I think we should leave, if we leave the road open, we'll definitely leave C Street open. If we close the roads, well, C Street, it's in the middle and it's stuck, it's one way. So it'll basically be closed as well.
How does that impact our handicap parking accessibility?
Shouldn't impact it too horribly bad. We have 36 spaces down behind the Elks and behind Aaron Young's new building there. That's really ADA friendly.
Okay.
And they won't be coming in at the top of the park. They'll be coming in at the roundabout, which is much easier to access the park.
Perfect. Do you know if, would it behoove us try to get that message out a bit ahead of time too, to let folks know that that's where handicap parking will be, so they don't make it all the way to the gates only to find out they could have gone back around and may not have time to get back to their vehicles and repark themselves?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to kind of broadcast that out. And also let them know that the dog park field, I do not believe will be manned by anybody at this point. So there won't be that parking area there. They can still park there if they want, I would imagine, but yeah, it's not going to be controlled.
Well, that won't be so bad going in, but that's going to be a lot of fun when they try to leave.
Yeah.
Mental note not to put myself near that gate.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Can we
Any
talk
questions
about
for
that,
Aaron?
Yeah, let's talk about that, Aaron. Why is it
Yeah.
not? Why?
I honestly don't know. I don't have a crew. Nobody's signed up to do the parking lot as far as I know.
And normally it's handled by like a high school group or something
Girls
to earn
basketball.
some money.
Yeah.
Basketball, girls basketball has done it in the past. And I've not heard anything from anybody. I don't know if Janice has heard anything from anybody on that group or not.
Have we
Aaron,
had
how many cars do you think we average in there? Any idea? Bob,
A
any sense of
lot.
that?
A lot.
270?
What's that?
270?
Yeah, yeah. Let's say
You know,
300.
does your proposed traffic plan have traffic assist at that location where that empties out onto 51?
In years past, what we typically have is our bike patrol officers assist with making everybody go right in that area. However, I don't know that we'll have the staffing for that. Obviously, if we have to make it happen, we'll make it happen. But the girls basketball team has traditionally been a great help in making that happen in an orderly fashion.
Do we
Yeah,
need to
Janice,
reach out to
Janice
them?
told me that she had the girls' basketball team signed up for something. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was that. The only other point I want to make on that is, we're trying to keep this hometown versus, obviously open up to everybody. So maybe we won't be using the dog park this year. Who knows?
That was, I think, the census at the very beginning of all of the planning stage for this was, depending on how COVID plays out with the 8,000 people, there really may not be a need for it. It'd be really nice, but that's kind of where it went. I don't know. I had never heard anything more after that.
I feel like even with 8,000 people, we're gonna not have enough parking because no one walks. Everyone
Yeah.
drives.
I agree.
Yeah, everyone drives.
Yep, everyone drives.
So how do we find out if the girls' basketball team is doing it? And if not, I mean, it's easy enough to reach out to other groups. Everybody needs money.
Yeah, yeah. I can try to get a hold of my last known contact, but I believe Janice has a really tight contact that she talks with quite often. Julie was the last one I know of, and I don't remember the name of the gal that has been doing it since then.
All right. Something that was just mentioned begged this question. I don't know the answer, so I'm going to ask the group. In all the messaging that's gone out, has there been specific language that says there will be a limit of attendance at the park and your only entry will be through a limited number of wristband sales, either pre-sales or at the gate, and when they're gone, that's it? Has that message been imparted at all? Because I haven't heard it and I haven't seen anyone talking about it. And I'm just wondering if that's being communicated, because otherwise we're setting ourselves up for a lot of angry people who did not know there was a limit and they needed to be proactive to get in.
The only communication, Kimber, has been that we are following COVID restrictions. We have not put that number out there. We could certainly put the number out there, but so far that's all we've done. It says, we're following restrictions in the governor's guidance.
I mean, I think even if we just say there are a limited amount of wristbands that will be sold for the event, so we encourage people to get those wristbands as early as possible, because once they're gone and there will not be any more made available, right? And that entrance is wristbands only. People are used to being able to buy the wristband ahead of time to go through the fast pass line. I don't know if they understand they have to buy the wristband ahead of time to get in, period. Right? There's a difference in that, and we need to re-educate them about what the intention of the wristbands is.
I'm making a list of all of these things that we're talking about, and I'm going to try to come up with branded graphics for each thing and then this weekend, so we can just start churning them out and rotating through them, but that they're recognizable, and it should have all these messages. So hopefully we'll get that done.
I can show on the Facebook page for the City of Independence, the commission events. It does say Independence Days, July 3rd and 4th, 4 to 11, must pre-purchase wristbands, entry wristbands. And then it says 6 and older, $2, 5 and under free, but they still need to have a wristband.
Yeah, and the posters say no entrance without a wristband. But again, we haven't articulated the number, and I think you're right, Kimber. I think we need to do that so people know they need to get their stuff. Okay.
And that's probably why the wristbands haven't been selling so well, because there's no urgency really created for it.
Agreed.
We should have on the reader boards like a countdown of how many bracelets are left.
Yeah.
Right.
Bracelet, there's only
Natasha, I am so math challenged. I'm almost to the point where I can't even count anymore. So, I mean, I think wristband sales are going well. I think they're going really well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because
Les Schwab.
yeah, Shannon brought by
Yeah.
Shannon brought by 1,300 wristband sales today. So
Yeah, like $2,600.
I think that's pretty good for.
Yeah, I think it's at a clip. I mean, it's obviously going to
Yeah.
get better, but I think the more information we can put out there, the better, because we want to get to close to that number sooner than later. You know, we don't want to be struggling to, trying to sell wristbands out of businesses. I'd rather we sell as much as we possibly can, and then we take care of whatever we have to at the gates. But yeah, okay, I'll work with Natasha to give her some language to put in stuff, make sure we cover all those points.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have as positive an experience and feedback from the community as possible. And, the more we keep close to our vest, so to speak, the less positive the feedback will be. Trust me, as the person who admins that chat page, it will not be pretty. So the more we can get out in front of them, the better. Natasha, you're a rock star. Hey, let me know how I can help disseminate those. I have my hands on multiple pages beyond that one. So if I can help with that through Twitter and Instagram too, let me know.
Yeah, I'll
Sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I've been adding that verbiage in some of my Facebook lives, and I could actually ramp it up so that I create some urgency. I know people watch the videos, talk to their friends. I mean, the word of mouth that spreads from that is pretty good. So,
Right.
I could even do something like a countdown on that too. Only 14 more days, or whatever. So I can ramp that up weekly too.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa.
Yep.
All right, guys. I'm going to circle back to the list I was going down. So Nathan, we're up to you. Dazzle us with your brilliant plan.
Kimber, you've got some hands up. Sorry.
I'm sorry, what was that, Natasha?
Kimber, you got some hands up. Vicky and Chief both, I think, maybe had something.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Nathan. Pause. Hold that moment of awesomeness. Vicky, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to circle back again, but I never was clear on C Street open, closed. Aaron, do you?
All right. We're dependent on the parade at the moment.
Okay, so the answer is still yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Open for the 3rd though, right? We're not closing things for the 3rd at all.
Yes, open for the
Only
3rd. Yeah. Thank you, Bob.
And a follow-up question for you, Aaron. Do you have lights for the temporary lights for the dog parking area?
I do not. I have not acquired those yet, but I will inquire that on Monday or tomorrow and see if they're available.
So if we're not going to have that lit, then I really don't want people in there,
Yeah.
right? Because it's really hazardous to come out of there in the dark.
Yep.
And it's our one of 3 gates. So there isn't going to be many people using that gate if we're not going to light that and
That's
maybe
true.
remove that gate. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that it is one of the gates, I don't know why we wouldn't have had anybody to man that parking lot. So maybe that is in Janice's thought process. She usually does take care of that parking lot in her normal stuff. So
Okay.
her
So we
not
need
being
lights.
here. So yeah. So I'll inquire on the lights for sure. Yep.
All right. Are we ready to let Nathan go?
And go.
Okay, so I did finalize the order of bands and time slots and everything too. I can share that with whoever. I send it over to Natasha first, since it seems like she's taking the lead on postering and social media too. So got that set up. We're kind of doing, 4 bands per day, basically. On the local day, I have it a little more packed. But I've created a little bit of overlap between artists. So as a smaller act is kind of finishing up, they'll join the following band and kind of usher in the following band for the most part. So it should be kind of a good sort of seamless transition without hopefully too much downtime. The next thing I'm kind of exploring, because I think once I do the final tally of numbers, I came out under budget on each day by just a hair. So I was thinking about hiring a couple comedians from Salem. There's a comedy group from Salem. The only thing I'm nervous about is that, you know, they understand a family friendly vibe and they're not going to get us, you know, in hot water up there. And I don't personally know them, so I'm a little nervous and apprehensive about that, to be honest. So maybe,
Hey, no,
Just hold their check till they're done.
yeah, I know one of our local, one of our local residents, Central graduated with my class, is a comedian up in the Portland area. And I just saw him talking about maybe coming back to visit the community for the holiday. I can get you his info too if you want to explore someone else who definitely understands it's a family friendly event.
Oh, that would be great. And if they're interested,
okay,
you know, we can create some opportunity there. I'll probably have some jokes ready too, you know, locally flavored.
You should have kids do jokes, like have them prepped and come up and do jokes.
That'd be super fun too.
You know,
Yeah.
6-year-olds telling knock jokes. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
That's true. I'm down with that. That would be pretty easy to organize, you know, just day of. But
It's comedy.
you know, the other thing I'm nervous about, of course, you know, anytime doing something like this is bands showing up on time, technical difficulties, changeover, all that stuff. But I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible in between. I do have a killer 4th of July playlist. So if all else fails and there's dead air because a band's not there and there's no entertainment, the playlist will be thematically appropriate and fun. So I think, you know, overall it'll be a great day. You know, besides the obvious things that could go wrong. Pretty happy to have all the bands booked. I'll tell you that. We had a couple cancellations and some last minute squirreliness, but I think it's going to be a good lineup. So.
Nathan, I'd love to post, if I can, videos from the bands. I mean, they all must have some sort of a video to kind of some hype, or at least their Facebook pages or something to link to them.
Yeah.
Because I think if people can explore some of the music that's going to be there, it just helps a little bit. So I'll come see you and see what we can do.
Sure. Yeah, we could talk that over. I'm not sure how many of them have up-to-date stuff, you know, especially, well, that's a good question. Yeah. I bet we can find something for almost all of them to at least photos and stuff too.
Yeah.
The tag. So I'd be happy to help with that.
Cool.
I don't feel like my work is done until the 4th, so I'm ready to get in where I fit in as far as that goes. And are we leading into vendors next?
Absolutely, go for it.
Does anybody else have any other questions for me while we're here, or suggestions?
When does that list of artists come out?
Natasha's got it. I can send it to any of you, or I could send it to Karen and have you forward it. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, if nothing else from Nathan, then we need a vendor report.
Okay, so we have 13 confirmed so far, and it's a mix of craft and food. There's some new food vendors coming in that should be interesting, and new craft, and then some of the old favorites. And I'm getting 2 messages a day for inquiries and sending apps. So I mean, it's looking like, I mean, I've sent out close to 40 so far. So considering how many are still out there and waiting to come in, I think we're going to have a pretty good lineup. We do have a lot of people that are concerned about where they're going to be, but I'm just touching base with them and letting them know that the park isn't going to be set up how it usually is. But we will be in touch with them once we plan out the spaces. So, Aaron, do we have a time frame on when we're going to shoot to do that?
Yeah, Janice and I had talked about trying to kind of do a layout around the 15th.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I was thinking, and that's what I've been letting people know. So
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous on the Hollywood Lights for the power stuff. I have been unsuccessful at getting a hold of them. Yeah, I'm kind of in limbo. I've put out several emails and a couple phone calls today trying to get their attention, but we'll make it work one way or another. That's what we do. And then I'm trying to shy away from vendors on C Street. I guess. I don't know. I would imagine that C Street's the best power we've got. So if it comes down to it, then definitely we'll be putting people there. But I would rather vendors kind of cluster in the one spot unless we get huge amount like we had in the past.
yeah. Well,
So-
go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, if we're gonna try to be a little bit, even though we may not have to, but try to be a little bit more COVID friendly, wouldn't you want to try to have vendors on C Street to kind of spread everything out?
Spread them around. That was another thought there. Yeah. So, just not too sure
Just asking.
how the layout's going to go just yet. That's the hard part. And I don't know how many vendors we're going to have. 13 would be awesome because we have plenty of room. 40, yeah, we're getting tight again. So
Yeah, I don't foresee us being more than 40. I mean, at this point, so I think we're pretty safe there. But my concern is that they're all being understanding that they're not going to know where they're going to be until we get it planned out for a different park layout.
And then the other understanding is it's not going to be 20,000 people on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I am reiterating to everyone as well when I'm following up with them, that it's 2 days, that it's, well, I've been saying 4 to midnight.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, earlier if we can,
Yeah,
but that's what they need to commit to. And then that there's 8,000 person capacity each day. So I haven't really gotten any pushback on that. I think it's nothing but helpful so that they know how much food they need to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far so good.
The other question I had raised to Janice was, when were we going to cut off vendor acceptance? I was thinking all the way till the week, cut it off at the first or second or whatever day that is.
Yeah, I mean, once we have the plan and we start having people come in to set up, it gets a little difficult to take any more. I mean, every year there is the possibility of someone running in with cash in hand saying, "Can I come too?"
Yeah.
And if we can, but
I'm thinking like Monday the 28th of June would be, that gives us plenty of time to squeeze people in, and vendors won't be setting up until Friday, or trailers on Friday anyway, right? Or would it be Thursday and then vendors on Friday?
I think it would be, I think it would be the food trucks on Thursday and the rest on Friday.
And then that way they're ready to go at 4 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
I think the big question is going to be, can they come in and out on Saturday before 4?
Yes and no.
And
yes. There'll be an access point off of Osprey to get in and out.
Okay, because we're going to need to have that. I mean,
oh yeah. I almost think that maybe if we just did Friday for food trailers and vendors that want to set up early, and then Saturday they could set up. That way they at least have Thursday to.
I would just give them a time on Saturday they need to be completed by, so we can have an hour or 2 gap to calm and settle before we open gates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because there's always the last minute, oh, we forgot.
Yeah. Maybe that's right. Maybe Friday night would be a good, that way I'm not being pulled from setting up fencing and stuff to deal with electrical and vendor stuff on Saturday. So
right. yeah, we'll have enough to do on Saturday. The other question that came up for me, on the application, we asked them to list how many vendor passes they're going to need. So that counts toward our capacity in the park. So how would you like me to handle that? Do you want me to just pull out that many wristbands per request per booth, so that when the girls come by to check to see how many we have left, how many wristbands we have left, then those have already been considered?
I was kind of questioning that myself too. Are we 8,000 residents or customers, and then however many vendors and staff? So is it going to be 8,000 plus our vendors and staff, or is it 8,000 set in stone?
I asked Janice that a couple weeks ago when we were just starting to offer bracelets, because I needed to know if I needed to go get one. And she said that we will be counted as the 8,000. So everybody needs a bracelet.
That's my understanding too, last time I talked to her about it.
I mean, the other thought is that we give them all a different bracelet, because we're not charging them for them, correct?
Right, but we would still need to reduce the amount of the for sale bracelets by that amount, so that
Yeah.
together they do not exceed the 8,000.
Yeah.
So I wonder,
Whatever.
I'm thinking the restrictions are going to be less. So would it be appropriate to just limit our patrons to 8,000, and then we accommodate our population to what vendors and staffing is going to be required?
Lisa, yeah, it's a good point, Erin. Lisa, can I turn that question back to you? And if you could estimate on a relatively normal year, which I know is tough because this is anything but normal, but when you give out those vendor passes, how many do you issue total, you think, across the vendors we have?
I would venture to say less than at 1,000 people would be more than sufficient to say.
Per day or
9,000.
total?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What?
Per day?
Well, that was total, but
Yeah.
my thought is this year we don't have some of the heavy hitters like St. Patrick's that has a whole bunch of volunteers come in and they're there doing different shifts, all throughout the days. That's going to be a major amount, but we're probably looking at, not more than 6 vendor passes for a vendor, and we have 13 so far. So, it's pretty minimal.
Maybe
I think if Lisa's handling the vendors and she's also selling bracelets, it makes sense for her to just take them out of that and keep track. And then those folks have the correct bracelets and we have the right numbers.
Because it'll be doubled because it's per day. That's true.
We just give them one, right? Because we have different colors. So they each get 2, one for each day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make a suggestion. Do you guys think there's any chance you're gonna sell out? Are we meeting next week? Will there be another meeting next week?
I'm hoping so.
Okay. Is there any chance we're gonna sell out of all the bracelets, the existing 16,000 by next week?
No.
Doubtful. Okay. So I think maybe this is a question that we could table on whether or not we're going to count the vendor passes as part of the total 8,000, or we're going to allow them to be additional to let Lisa kind of do a count on what she really thinks that's going to be rather than guessing, and bring that back to the next meeting. And you guys have time to adjust that decision then. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, just so you know, the hotel is buying 400 wristbands for each day. They're not going to use 400 wristbands probably, but we can put aside a number of wristbands if we have to. It's no big deal.
Thank you, hotel.
And then next week is the governor will announce new metrics. So, that number we might even go down even lower from
what are we, moderate to low, or, I mean, who knows? So then that number might even bump up. I mean, it's,
Well, I believe that the capacity of the park is over the 8,000 mark currently. It was 8,000 mark that we decided because of the amount of security and availability of personnel that we had. So
that
that's
makes,
where I feel that the 8,000 mark would be appropriate for patrons, and then
gotcha.
have 1,000 plus people. I mean, at maximum, I would assume that staff, vendor staff, and volunteers, we would have less than 1,000 people. So it would be a total of 9,000 in the park at that point, which is, I don't know. I think that would be the appropriate way to go. Then we're not having to pull wristbands out of the mix, try to figure out how many people we're going to have or don't have. It's just, we have this vendors and we have our 8,000 wristbands we're going to sell.
Yeah, so I just looked up the numbers at the moderate risk level. And so based on the park size and a little bit of area that we have there along the river front park, the current number is about 16,000 that you could have under the rules. So you're way over already what you guys are planning for. And so, and it wouldn't surprise me at all, depending on what we hear from the governor, if the number isn't unlimited by the time the date actually happens. So I think you guys need to plan what you want to do rather than trying to track what the state's at, because I think you already have the capacity to have the numbers well in excess of 8,000 that you currently are planning for.
Yeah, I think if we chose the 8,000 number, then that makes sense to sell 8,000 wristbands and then have different wristbands for vendors and staff. I didn't know if that number was why it was that number.
I agree.
So I'm just gonna agree, again, circle this back, knowing that numbers and guidance are going to change in the next week, and giving Lisa time to actually take a hard look at what's being requested on the vendor she has at that time. This suggests that this gets revisited at the meeting next week and a final decision can be made. And maybe part of that can be a discussion of best case scenario, and we can let more people in. That's going to come to a law enforcement decision. In my mind, it's not just about how many we're allowed to have, it's about how many can we safely manage given the security resources and volunteer resources we have, right? Like the amount of people it takes to empty the garbage that 8,000 people produce versus the amount of people it takes to empty the garbage that 16,000 people produce is dramatically different. So there's a lot of those incidental things going into this that have to be accounted for, not just what are we going to be able to do and not get our hands slapped. We still have to keep it safe and viable and get the job that we need to get done. So again, I think we need to circle back to this next week.
Kimber, I don't disagree, but we set the 8,000 number knowing that it was less than we were allowed or would be allowed. So we set it for a reason. We should stick with it. We don't want an 11th hour request to go to 16,000 when our staffing's all set already. We wouldn't want to do that to Tino. He'd never come back.
Possible to get enough.
I absolutely, I 100% support that. I mean, that would be, if I was a voting member, my vote would be stick with the number that was planned, because my mind, being an incident manager, is going to 1,000 directions why increasing at the last minute would be a bad idea. And I won't bore you all with that, but if I had to vote, I would totally say stick to the number we know we can safely support. It's about the safety of our community and enjoying the event, and not about making money, in my personal opinion.
That's true.
I agree.
I agree. And so the 8,000 is for the wristband sales. And as Aaron said, then whatever staff and vendors are in addition to that 8,000, but that's it.
Confirming that's exactly what we were talking about, right? No one in here is considering increasing the number of people allowed into the park, right?
No.
All right.
The only increase would be including vendors and staff
Correct.
above the 8,000 mark.
That's what's being tabled for next week, nothing else. Perfect.
Yes.
And then there's a chat that came in asking about the dry conditions and the fireworks. I just want to make sure that it gets noted that we take precautions to hose down the firework launch site, make sure that there's plenty of moist ground around there, and most of the fallout does happen over the river. So we try really hard to make sure that the dry conditions are well taken care of.
Yeah, I know that's a big concern. You might get some more of that. We are getting daily drought and red flag warning alerts through the state ECC every day. Every day they're crossing my emails. So, and that's going to increase. We don't have a prediction of measurable rainfall. NWS NOAA released their summer predictions this morning. So yeah, it is going to be super dry. We're just going to have to be super on top of the no barbecues, no patron fireworks, right? Ample places to, where is the designated smoking area, and ample appropriate ways to dispose of that, those kinds of things, and really be tight on policing it.
Yep. And I've always asked the farmer behind us to water his trees. And he's usually pretty well doing it already, but it's always good to have a little bit of protection.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, anything last about the park or the vendors?
Kim, did you see that Chief Stangy joined us? I know you had a fire question.
I did not see that. Welcome, Chief Stangy. Hey, before we move on to our last item, Chief, did you want to let us know what Polk One is thinking as far as what they can support us with or not for the event, what your guys' plans are?
We will, sorry, I was in a meeting I just got done with. So, but we will be, we'll be able to support whatever you normally do. Our volunteers are expecting to be there. We'll also most likely hire back a couple people. But right now we're fully staffed and don't intend for that to change, with the expectation that, of course, something will be going on in the community. So we should be able to be a part of it, whatever it is. We are doing our pancake breakfast, so all of our people are still sticking around for that. So they will deploy afterwards to whatever's happening in town.
Awesome, thank you. Are you aware that the typical setup down behind the police booth will be different this year? They're not bringing the big enclosed AC tent, and there will not be fridges full of stuff and barbecues running 24/7. So if that's something your crews are dependent on, they need to know that that's not available this year.
All right, thanks.
All righty, any questions for Chief Stangy? All right. Next thing I have on my list is updates on the parade. Tom is here, so Janice gave me some pretty short notes on that because she was still kind of waiting for more info, but since Tom's here, Tom, are you able to speak to that right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into too many details. Obviously, there's a different group who has expressed interest in putting on the parade and has gotten really serious about getting into the mechanics of getting that figured out. So I don't want to speak for them, but I think they're really pretty close to actually having something that will work. So hopefully in the next day or two, they can make a final decision and let everybody know what they're planning on doing. But I think it's a pretty high probability that there'll be a parade this year. And they've coordinated with Janice to make sure that the timing and route and everything, kind of works with all the things you have going there. So there will soon be some pretty good coordination, cooperation between them. So yeah, I don't want to steal their thunder if that's what happens. So I'll just leave it at it looks promising and go from there.
All right, just because I know it impacts other people on this call, is there a sense, can you share if this is a typical parade route or a modified parade route? Because that will kind of affect how Chief Stangy and as you know, talking with Chief Mason, how they allocate their personnel along that parade route and plan for shifting. Is that something you can speak to yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's been bouncing around all over the place. I think that they landed on the typical parade route today. So as far as I know, that's what the plan is. But hey, it's moved so many times. I'm not gonna commit to anything at this point. So.
All right, copy that. I would just, of course, and you know this, I'm preaching to the choir, but as soon as there's something that lands hard on it, we're all going to know at the city, and Chief Mason's going to know pretty quickly, but please do make sure that Chief Stangy gets looped in right away as well.
Yeah, and just one thing to add, if it does end up ending at the park like it normally does, They both agreed to actually turn right at the intersection of Main and Monmouth, so that they would kind of end the parade over more towards City Hall, just so that they can stay out of the way of all the vendors and everything that are trying to get into the event over there. So they both think that would be an improvement if that's what happens. So. All right, Kimber, you're muted.
Sorry, I muted myself, didn't I? Any follow-up questions for that, Chief Mason or Chief Stingy?
Only question would be for Aaron. What does that do for you and vendors? Is that good? Hopeful? Keeping them off of Main Street north of Monmouth?
I don't really know that it's that big of a deal, and I know a lot of people like to sit in downtown when they are watching the parade. And I'm sure the business owners like having all the activity there, but going the other way would definitely unclog Main Street, but we would still need to have the detour in place and everything else. So really, it's not that big a deal to change the direction. The only hang up there ever was the end of the parade. Just nobody really knows where to go at that point. That's the only hiccup. But we've been pretty well ironing it out in the years past, and it's been working pretty good.
Do we need some signage maybe in front of the park or something? Because the issue is going to be people are on the street, they want to walk into the park, and we're not starting at 4 o'clock. So, I mean, do we need to put some signs out there or something to make sure people, aren't walking into the park and setting up camp?
Yeah, that'd be appropriate to have some signage there.
Just
there again, if the parade
at 4.
changes direction, then it wouldn't go in front of the park. So,
well, and the gates will be set before anyone can walk in and set up. They'll have gates set up to keep people out at that point.
Mhm.
The only,
I do think that there's consideration of value, and I think kind of what Shannon was talking about is people are used to the reason that some people watch the park at the Independence Inn is because they just pack up and then flood the gates as soon as the last float goes through. And we need to have clear signage at those gates as they're arriving to sit and watch the parade that says nicely, sorry, friends, if you don't have a wristband, you don't get to do that this year. Like however that needs to be phrased or captured, right? I mean, obviously, if we have a few wristbands left, we could do that. Maybe signage that says, entrance to the park will be wristband only, get yours before they're sold out, or that indicates the limit. Maybe as they're waiting for the floats to come down, we will then rapidly sell the remaining wristbands while they're waiting for the floats to reach them, knowing that they need to have them if they do want to do that. But definitely our people at the gates need to be aware of that there could be some brief tussling as we're turning hundreds of people away who did not have wristbands and came for the parade and now cannot just follow it into the park like they're used to.
But at what time are we going to staff the gates?
So we
have anybody there to tell people not to come in? Or
we had
people?
planned on doing some on-site wristband sales outside of the gates, so up the parade route or up the street from where the gates are. If people come down, didn't realize, if we had extra wristbands left over of the 8,000. And then the signage would say, sorry, friends, the gates open at 4 p.m. So there is no getting in before 4 p.m., whether you have a wristband or you don't have a wristband.
Thank you. That's
Gates
what I
are
was going
closed
to.
until 4.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe just like, a slap it up thing that you have in the back behind the booth that when those bands sell out, if they sell out before 4, something that can be slapped up on the lead sign in front of the gates that says wristband sold out, right? Because I don't want people waiting and checking and going play at the park at Monmouth for a while and coming back at 4 still thinking they can buy a wristband and get in, right? Like we need to clearly say, if you don't have one now, once they're sold out, we appreciate you watching the parade, please go home.
Yeah.
Right.
Parade's usually over by 2 on a normal year.
Well,
Yeah.
3. But I'm just trying to be conscious of the publicity, the potential for positive and negative publicity, right? So I encourage Janice to, work with Natasha, and it sounds like they've had that conversation about getting the limitations out as quickly as possible. So people who travel for a distance to watch the parade and then go into the park know that, maybe that will forestall them not coming if they know that may not be a given for them. So the less people that leave angry and upset because it's now 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock on the 4th of July and their family has no other place to go because they did not have a backup plan, the much as we can avoid that as possible, the better. That's a PR nightmare. So the best that your guys' commission can do to get ahead of that, the better.
Aaron?
We're gonna need to do a signage meeting on the next meeting so that we're for sure what the appropriate signage we're gonna need.
Aaron?
I'll start working on it this weekend and hopefully have something for everything that we've noted. And we can approve it or change it and then have it ready to go.
Aaron?
Yes.
One more consideration. If we go towards City Hall, your vendors aren't going to be able to go down Osprey. So can you get them down C during that time?
No. I'll have I could move the gates, yes, and we could get them down.
Think that through and talk it through with Janice on what makes more sense for you guys. I know she's thinking vendor access is better if the parade doesn't go that way, but I know you're probably thinking, I'm going to put all the vendors down below and they could come down Osprey and I can let them right in. So I don't know. Just make sure you guys are on the same page.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me, whichever way you guys want to go.
Most vendors would be coming from Salem. So we just tell them, use River Road, come in on Osprey.
Not if the parade's going that way.
Not if the parade's going that way, yeah.
And right now, the parade going that way is what both Janice and the parade organizers are leaning toward. So,
Gotcha.
Are you with me?
Gotcha. I'm following that now. Yeah.
Tom, I just saw you come off mute. Did you need to comment on something?
No, I didn't. I just was going to say, I don't think either one of them is, they just want to do what's best. So if there's whatever the decision is, it just needs to be a decision here soon. So.
Hey, and maybe this means next year we'll have double the parade volunteers.
Yeah. I think personally, I would prefer them to go down through Main Street. Just that's the way it's always been. I think people would have a lot of argument if it went the other way, but that's me personally.
There's a lot to say for that. That was my where I ended up with the whole route and the start time and everything is, if you just keep it the way it's always been, you'll keep a lot of people, in their normal routine. But I was also excited to try something different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Try something.
We are creatures of habit.
You can have them pick up on the parade, come through just a little bit faster. That might give us a little bit more time between end of parade and open up.
Yeah.
That's on us though, right? Doesn't lead the parade, so I think we can just pick up the speed a little bit.
25 isn't good. We need. So Tom, I think you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying, why don't we wrap this up, Aaron? Why don't you talk to Janice and figure it out and just let everybody know.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, guys, that's everything I have on my list. So around the room, if anyone has come up with something that we didn't cover, go for it.
I'm just wondering who I need to reach out to to make sure that we do hear about I don't care if there's a parade. I just need to know what the route's going to be because we have to staff differently if we can't get through town. Who's the best contact?
Mason's your guy.
Okay, thank you.
And I was just going to comment that the church in the park is still planning on starting at 10:15 and being done before the parade would even come into town. So I know that the idea of people going and setting up, even if they have a wristband, we're not going to open the gates for those folks until 4 o'clock. Is that what my understanding is? Because I mean, I'll be there. I can, do a sweep and make sure people that are after the service is done, that the park is empty if that's the case.
Yeah, so that's the case with the Church in the Park. Church in the Park will be open, but once Church in the Park's been completed and we've cleared the park, the gates will be closed. There will be nobody in until.
And the only people in there would possibly be vendors.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So that leaves to wrap things up. When's the next meeting? Do we want to do a week or 2 weeks? 24th or I forgot the other one.
I would suggest that since Natasha is going to be devising this amazing PR push that's going to cover all of our concerns, and knowing that no pressure there, Natasha, my friend, and knowing that any updates are going to affect both LE and fire EMS stuff, that sooner is better. So next week is probably best. That way, if you are ordering signs and producing signage, you've given yourself plenty of cushion to do that cost effectively and not in panic mode.
Yeah, I think that gives the sign makers time to make signs as well. So the 17th?
17th, okay.
Yep. I'm good with that.
All right, anybody else? All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll find out all the new fun things that we can discuss, right? So
yeah.
Until then, keep doing what you guys are doing. You're doing an amazing job.